And welcome back into the Cowboys Report. I am Tom Downey, Stone Shields behind the scenes for today's Rare Victory Friday live Cowboys Report. Although, boy, you didn't get good injury news today that we will talk about, and certainly dampers the vibes after a key win, ugly but key, by the Cowboys over the Giants. We'll talk about it on today's show, but first, Abja Pawar, a $5 super chat, says, let Dak deal. 4, 9, 17, 87, 88 are the only hope for this team. Why are we not opening the playbook on offense? Should we also get new tackles? You can't get new tackles right now. It is September. It is almost October. You are not going to find good NFL tackles. I will say, and we'll talk about more in depth, I think Steele's played better the past 2 weeks. Not perfect by any stretch of the imagination, but I think he's been better over the last 2 games, minus maybe 2 plays a game, which you can live with that. Getting beat twice and 3 sacks or 3 penalties and stuff is not very good. But you don't have any options out there that are actually realistic options. Just not how it's going to be. I would love to open up the playbook more on offense. I hate the designs. I really do. I think very much that was Dak was so accurate through the air, especially on first and second downs, that it kind of hid just the bad play calling overall. Let's give me your one-word reaction to the Cowboys against the Giants. 1 word and 1 word only. How you feeling coming out of that matchup? Injuries is maybe a decent 1 word since you had plenty of those. Meh. That's fine. Actually, I think I'll see plenty of those. We gave him a C for the most part, so I think C's pretty meh. Needed. It's a good one. Gutsy. Good. Expected. So. Yeah, I don't mind that one. Whelmed. Indifferent. Worried. Expected. Whatever. Indifference. Not a bad one. Stressful. Okay. It was a very stressful game. It also was a classic ugly Thursday night game. That's how those games are. You haven't seen too many of them because sometimes you get lucky and you just play a team that's just terrible. But that's how a lot of those Thursday night football games end up going. They're not exactly pretty games. Surprising. Hungover from Caesar. Nice. Mozzie. Okay, that's a good one. Great. Happened. It's a good one. Happened is a solid one. Okay. Also valid. These all kind of play into the pin poll on today's show, which is this. How are you feeling after the Week 4 win? How you feeling when you woke up this morning? Post-injury news, all of that stuff. How do you feel? B for you feel better. W for you feel worse. S for you're feeling the same. I think the injury stuff is maybe a little bit of a negative angle from that standpoint. The game itself, I think you got to feel better or the same. All you could do was beat the team in front of you. Short week, on the road, team you've had a lot of success with against the pass. The defense that couldn't stop a nosebleed still has issues on defense, by the way. Still have issues on offense. But you got the win. That's what you had to do. On the road, tough environment, not great field conditions. The turf was pretty bad. And they've been fine. They got out of there with a win. And they got out of there with injuries too, which sucks. But they got out of there with the win. And I think that was pretty critical. B, W, or S. 57% voting for the same. 19% voting for worse. 25% voting for better. Now, it's like, I'm kind of glad that Aubrey missed the field goal. Now he won't be like, when he will miss. Yeah, you know what would have been smart for Mike McCarthy? Is call your timeout, maximize your clock, and you forced Aubrey to rush that kick. You can go back and look at it. He's not. So there's 8 seconds on the play clock, and he's not set up yet. They rushed it for zero reason because your head coach is terrible at end-of-game scenarios. He is the worst at it. So, B for better, W for worse, S for the same. How you feeling after the Week 4 win out of the Cowboys? Get those votes in and take a look at our Super Chat menu. The final version of September, I think. Wait, maybe there's one more on Monday. I need to check what days are now. I guess this is the penultimate chance for the most hundreds in September, the full-size Cowboys helmet. It's Anthony McMillan in a runaway right now, so that's how it goes. $500 for the custom Cowboys. You pick the name, pick the number. I can wear it throughout the season, and we'll ship it out to you. $100, the bong, slap, and shot trio. $500 or $50, the beer bong. I did the opposite of what I normally do there. $20 for a shot as well. So that is the super chat menu here on today's show. $20 for the shot, $50 for the beer bong, $100 the bong, slap, and shot trio, $500 the custom Cowboys jersey. Most hundreds in September gets you the full-sized Cowboys helmet. So is Micah Parsons, because we'll talk a lot about him on today's show, with he having a high ankle sprain, I think your over-under timeline is, can you get him back for the Niners game after the bye? Is he back in time for that game? Y for yes, N for no in the comments. Then we'll get to Object War Super Chat here in just a second. I think that's your realistic top-end timeline target date. Because you get 10 days before you play the Steelers, and then you get a week before you play the Lions, and then you get a week for the bye. So that could be on the high early return timeline there. But it is a high ankle sprain for Micah Parsons. It's a midfoot sprain for DeMarcus Lawrence. We'll talk about those two later on in today's show, and some replacement options, because ain't looking great there. He's going to say he wants to play against the Steelers. I don't think they will let him. I think that'd be a little bit foolish and borderline reckless if they tried to go down that path. So get your votes in. Y for yes, N for no. Object Pawar, what are the issues still there on offense and defense? Your running game is still not that great. It's kind of average. It was like you were better, and you were like, kind of average. Even with just the backs. Better, but still not exactly great. I think your scheme is still pretty bad. You don't do a good job of scheming guys open. There were so many hitches and comeback routes in that game. It was like watching a Jason Garrett offense. Now, Dak was going to have to use his eyes a lot and get the guys to go the other way. Like that, you saw a couple times, like they ran a stick. He looks left and then gets back to the middle, which you try so much and try so hard to pick up 7 yards. Not how every other offense looks out there. Defense, you've had issues passing the football. Like, you've had issues with that. You got beat again through the air, and if Daniel Jones could throw the ball more than 20 yards, they might have lost that game because he had guys open downfield that he missed pretty consistently. The run defense was much better. The Giants didn't try to run the ball on the outside that much. So maybe they can help you out a little bit there. Samuel, who says D-Law was also in news on him. He also followed up with a different super chat that said, you sent it as soon as I hit send, LOL. So we'll mention it again in case you're just now tuning in. Midfoot sprain for DeMarcus Lawrence. He's going to miss several weeks. He could be an IR candidate, which would also allow you to then get Carl Lawson up to the active roster because he's got one more free call-up left, then he's out of spots. So you got to make a decision at some point soon how you're gonna roster manage your way through all the injuries that you've had here. Corruption says, I don't know, $50, but $2 is decent enough. Hey, we appreciate any and all super chats here on the Cowboys Report, no matter how small or how large. We appreciate you, Corruption, and everyone else out there. Let's get to the likes, then we'll mention Swiss Cheese's super chat. You know how to do the manually refresh it? Yeah. Sweet. If you want us to start today's live Cowboys Report, then like the video. Goal was always that 50% like ratio. Not quite there today. We're about 100 shy of it, give or take. So, if you want to start today's live show, like the video. At minimum, I think we need 69 likes to start the show. I think that is the minimum number we need to be hitting. From Swiss Cheese, $5. Feel like any team with a decent ground game will beat us. The Niners, the Lions will run wild. Then we can split games with Philly. You're also going to run into issues of the Steelers are going to try to run the football on you. The Falcons are going to try to run the football on you. The Eagles try to run. Everyone's going to try to run the ball on you. Can you stop them? You did it against the Giants. They're kind of a mediocre ground game team. You're still going to get challenged pretty consistently. Can you split games against? There's other super chats I want to get to here too. Like, do our normal planning there. So let's do. Just manually refresh it. It shouldn't though. Anyway, Swiss Cheese $5 super chat. I think you can split games against Philadelphia. I think that I think the Eagles have issues too. The NFC East in general is not that good. It's not that good of a football team, I feel like. So teams, I should say. I think you can split games, but got to win the first one probably. Otherwise, it's not going to be as important for the second matchup. From Gatlin, $5 time. I am still salty about missing my picks since it said a flop on offense after halftime. That being said, throw me a lineup for Sunday, LMAO. I've not done my picks yet. I will do those probably tomorrow because I have to do all my college football picks too. So I have not set my Sunday lineup yet on the various sites out there. I'll do one at some point, but I don't have mine available yet. The one big one I had that the group chat was doing picks on was DeMarcus Lawrence sack. That one felt really good, and we ended up hitting it in the end. Robert Simmons, who do you want to trade for on this 10-day break for the Dallas Cowboys? You have that little mini buy. Now, two things. One, I think if you're going to make a trade, probably going to have to wait till like Monday or something. Because NFL teams are not necessarily going to trade players on a Saturday. That's a little bit more common, but you can start doing stuff to make that happen. Start doing your groundwork. I'd explore lots of edge rusher options, which we will do on today's show. I promise you on that. From Blazin' Daily, 24 carries for 26 yards. All you need to see is improvement. Singletary isn't a pushover. Finally, Mozzie showed up. Overshown needs to start over Clark. I think the snap counts were pretty obvious in terms of like what the Cowboys are going to do. Eric Kendricks is linebacker 1, in part because he is the signal caller, and Zimmer loves him and wants him out there to help make life easier on everyone else. He didn't have his best game. DeMarvion Overshown is also out there as a starter, basically. The only time he basically left the game was when he cut his knee up and had to leave for a little bit. Damone Clark played 4 snaps. 4. So I think maybe one of the last ones Overshown wasn't out there when they went to prevent. I don't know. They actually did do a prevent play call there. But Overshown is starter. He's linebacker 2. Reese Leafau is linebacker 3. Clark is linebacker 4. I think that's right. Coming up on today's live edition of the Cowboys Report, we'll have some Cowboys news focused on the injury side of things, plus some more takeaways from the Week 4 win. We will also break down some replacement options along the pass rushing group, internal options the Cowboys can give more playing time to, practice squad players they can sign, free agents, and we will have the trade targets as well for the Cowboys. We'll also get to our mailbag. 2 ways to get on the show. Use hashtag Cowboys or Super Chat to skip that line like several of you already have. And then I got some ideas for some mini bye week easy tweaks to make. Stuff that, maybe one of them is more high level like concerns. Some of it is me venting about things I don't like about this team right now either. But all that's coming up live here on the Cowboys Report. If you are glad the Cowboys were able to get a win, then like today's video. It was not a pretty performance against the Giants like so many Thursday night games in the NFL. It's sloppy, it's unprepared, it's kind of ugly football, but getting the road victory in division, that's always important. So if you're glad they got a win, like the video right now. Now for some things we're not going to like. That led by the injuries. Micah Parsons, a high ankle sprain, is what he suffered against the New York Football Giants. He is almost assuredly going to miss time. Now, I'm sure Micah, would love to find a way to play and gut through it and not miss any time. He's got 10 days between the injury and the game against the Pittsburgh Steelers. He kind of downplayed the injury post-game, saying he felt fine, it was just wrapped, whatever. That might have been some of the adrenaline coursing through your veins, and then, you fly back and boy, that ankle hurts a little bit more all of a sudden, doesn't it? I am very curious how he feels the next few days. He's going to have to, they'll probably put that in a boot and try to conserve the swelling a little bit there. The mini bye here does help. And you've got that extra time and your actual bye coming up. But I do think the vast likelihood here is that Micah Parsons is going to miss time. I don't think he's going to play Week 5 against the Pittsburgh Steelers. Sunday Night Football. against the Steelers defense that's incredible, and you wish your defense was also good because that might be a defensive slugfest. Week 6 against the Lions, I doubt he plays. Week 7 bye, and then that opening, the generous opening of the normal 4 to 6 week window, is Week 8 at the 49ers, a massive game there on the road, a game that you are, it's going to be your biggest measuring stick all year. Are you close or are you not? And you'd love to have Mike out there. And I think ideally at this point, you find a way to split against the Steelers and the Lions. Win one of those games, 500 at the bye, still in the mix, and then in theory getting healthy with Deron Bland coming back soon. And we'll get to Tank Lawrence as well, and hopefully Micah Parsons getting back soon. But your defensive end room is, you've already lost Sam Williams. You've already lost Micah Parsons now for a couple weeks. You're going to be that down Tank Lawrence for a few weeks. You drafted a guy in the 4th round in Junior Fioka who couldn't even make your football team. So it's Marshawn Nealon, Chauncey Golston, Tyrus Wheat, and Carl Lawson set to be probably a full-time guy for the practice squad. That's a scary room. So back to the timeline here for Mike. I think the over-under is that 49ers game. Is he back by then? Y for yes, N for no. Let me know in the comments section of today's show. Let's go to Tank Lawrence here. He is going to miss multiple weeks with a mid-foot sprain. Nick Harris reporting he's going to see a specialist, which I hate that. Now, I will say, has also been reported that this is apparently not like his other foot injuries. It's a little bit different and not directly related to the stuff that he's had before, where he's had that it was a Jones fracture at one point and then broke the fifth metatarsal, whatever it was. I don't like the specialist report. That's normally a bad sign, and unlike with Micah, like you'll see what timeline, it's probably gonna be 4 to 6 weeks, whatever. Not much of a timeline given for Tank Lawrence, so I'm guessing that they kind of don't know how much time he's actually going to be out at this point. You're going to miss these two players. There's no way around it. You are going to feel their losses across the board in your defense. Tank Lawrence is actually one of your, from an efficiency standpoint, not so much the pressure rate. Pressure rate's kind of down this year, but he remains one of your best run stoppers. I think that showed up against the Giants again. He's gotten 3 sacks for you this season, but you're going to miss both those players because the replacements, when you're already down your top backup at Sam Williams, aren't exactly great. Today's show is made possible by Prize Picks. It's America's #1 daily fantasy sports app, over 5 million active members. It is the easiest and most exciting way to play daily fantasy sports. It's just you against the numbers. You're not battling thousands of players and trying to be top 5%. Everybody just pick more or pick less on 2 to 6 player stat projections. Watch those winnings roll in. Marshall, who's still in shambles over the Cowboys lost to the Giants, sent me his Prize Pick slate this week. He's got the freebie from Caleb Williams. Anytime Derrick Henry scores just a half rush yard receiving touchdown. So just take the one there. And then more than Aaron Jones yards on the ground. It is a revenge game for Aaron Jones, by the way. So download the Prize Picks app today and use code CLNS and get $50 instantly when you play 5. That's code CLNS on Prize Picks to get $50 instantly when you play 5. You don't even need to win to get the $50 bonus. It is guaranteed. It's Prize Picks. Run your game. Beyond the injuries, some takeaway stuff I wanted to get into here, some negative and some positive. I do want to give Mozzie Smith his flowers for that game. I thought he was incredible against the Giants. PFF agreed, by the way, giving him their highest graded player at 88.4. The box score isn't even fully reflective. He had the 3 tackles, 1 TFL, 2 stops, or 2 stuffs, which is just, you've got the stopping him against the run, so tackle for loss or no gain there. I am hopeful that this continues to be a sign of things to come. Even dating back to last week's game against the Baltimore Ravens, it wasn't showing up in the stat sheet. It's not always going to as a run-stopping nose guard, but he was not getting pushed off the ball. He was getting some pressure. He was getting some, not pressure, but getting some penetration, keeping his linebackers free and clean. These 5 really, really good quarters in a row. 5 in a row. Hopefully, he keeps it up. It is not an accident, I don't believe, that you stopped the run for the first time in a long time, and it just happens to come on Mozzie Smith's best game ever in his career by a pretty comfortable margin. I loved what I saw out of Mozzie Smith. I hope this continues. If you have doubts about it, I get that too. John Michael Schmitz has been pretty rough as a center for the Giants so far, but that looked like a first-round defensive tackle last night, and that is not something we've ever said about Mozzie Smith, really at all. So maybe it's rising, maybe it's just only up a little bit. That's totally reasonable. What is your confidence level right now in Mozzie Smith? Scale it for me from 1 to 10. 1 is the low end, 10 on the high end. DeMarvion Overshone, I thought also a real game. I think if you're picking your two best defensive players, isn't it Overshone and Mozzie Smith, which is something you needed from your 2023 draft class pretty damn badly. He had 8 tackles. 6 of them were solo. Now, I don't tend to pay that much attention to some of the solo differentiation and the combined tackles, etc. If you're around the ball, you're around the ball. But that mattered to me. Eric Hendricks had 13 tackles, but only 6 of them were solo too. But like every time there was a big tackle made in space, didn't it feel like it was DeMarvion Overshone? Didn't it feel like that? But every time big play happens, there's Overshone making a stop. He's out there against wide receivers making plays. At the pass breakup too. He is clearly one of your starting linebackers. Kendricks does more from a pre-snap perspective, so that's fine. I think Overshone's your best backer right now. If you want more free Cowboys videos each and every single day, hit that sub button, youtube.com/CowboysTV. Has to talk offensive line as well. They had some better moments this week and some not so better moments against the Giants. Let's start with maybe one of your bigger negatives in this one. That was Tyler Guyton, who simply didn't play well. 1 sack, 2 hurries, run block grade below 59, and none of that seems overly concerning, not terrible, whatever. He also had 3 penalties. And I can't, and one of them was offsetting, which is kind of a dumb rule because it was only holding because he was offsides, but still. He had a rougher time. He did. And he almost tanked a couple of those drives and did tank a couple of the drives in the end. I can't, he is a developmental left tackle. Only way he's going to get better is by playing. You're going to have to take those lumps early on. Hopefully by the end of the year, he's playing better football. Speaking of better football, I do think Terrence Steele played better. Now, he got cooked one time really badly by Kayvon Thibodeau, but he shut down Brian Burns. Brian Burns did nothing against Terrence Steele. He played really well. There was the one really, really, really bad rep that almost got Dak killed. But, I thought he blocked pretty well again in terms of run blocking. Opening first 2 games were not great, especially week 2. But week 3, week 4, I think he's been a lot better. I don't think it's an accident that suddenly your passing game gets going a little bit here. And it's because Steele starts to get going a little bit too. Now, Kubibi was a tale of two phases of the game. As a pass protector, I thought he did a fantastic job. We'll get to their plan in a second here. As a run blocker, not so much. He definitely got dinged for that last Zeke carry where he lost like 3 yards. Yeah, BB got bull rushed straight back. Was not a particularly good rep there. I do love, and I'll give McCarthy and his staff some credit here, I love their game plan for Dexter Lawrence. Dexter Lawrence is one of the best pass rushing nose guards in football. He had like 5x the pressures from the zero technique spot last year than anyone else. The Cowboys double-teamed Dexter Lawrence on 80% of his pass rushes. And that is the most in the Next Gen Stats era since 2018. So BB had help a lot in pass protection. That is not a bad thing. Now, it meant some more island stuff for Guyton. I probably would have chipped a little bit more for him to help out, but it worked. Quick passing game, they found ways to survive and win the game in the end. So I want you so far to grade the Cowboys' offensive line. A, B, C, D, or F. Let me know in the comment section of today's show. How do you grade the Cowboys' offensive line through 4 games? Let's give Hunter Lipke some love here as well. He had the most snaps among running backs, if we include fullbacks to an extent in that category, and he continues to make plays for you. He had 4 touches in this football game. 2 carries, 8 yards, 2 carries, 14 yards, or 2 catches, 14 yards, and 3 first downs. That is success rates high when Lipke's involved. Now, one of them was kind of a bonkers-ass play by Prescott under pressure and looking guys off and getting drilled. Is a hell of a play. But Lipke continues to be involved a lot, and in very different ways. His snap counts this week. He had 12 at running back. That includes some of the weird, up back stuff. 9 fullback reps, 4 tight end reps. He was straight up in line as a tight end. 2 detached as a slot receiver, or moved tight end, whatever you want to call it. And 2 out wide. He also had 15 special team snaps. He is a unique player. He is not a full-time, give him 20 carries a game back, I don't believe. But he keeps doing things that benefit you. And that matters when you're kind of filling out the back end of your roster. He is a valuable piece of your team. All right, one-word reaction to the Cowboys against the Giants. One word and one word only. Let's see what we got here. I agree with Warren, by the way. I think it's a good comment. Daniel says Dak. Let's see what else we got. I'm going to get my water real quick. I put it in the freezer and forgot to pull it out. Yeah, it's in the water bottle. I'm an idiot. Flags, that's a good one too. Sloppy stuff, man. Classic Cowboys mistakes. Some of them were not flags, but not all of them. Stop doing self-inflicted stuff. Barely passable, I think, is actually double meaning because you were able to pass it. And the passing is why you won, but also you barely passed. I like that. In terms of a win. I am very scared, but it's okay. So, question mark. Fair. You couldn't lose that one. Win is a win, right? You couldn't afford to drop that game, otherwise it had been meltdown mode. You've staved off your meltdown for a little bit longer. The Super Chat menu on today's show. $20 for a shot, $50 for a beer bong, $100 for the bong, slap, and shot combination, $500 for the custom Cowboys jersey. You pick the name, the number, and I can either wear it throughout the year or just give it to you immediately. That's fine, too. Most hundreds in September. The Cowboys full-sized helmet right now is a runaway for Anthony McMillan. He's got over double anybody else combined. So can't say that one's too surprising there from the Cowboys' perspective. So that is our Super Chat menu. Get to the mailbag here in a little bit. Get your hashtag Cowboys Super Chat questions in. But first, we got to talk pass rushers. This is the Cowboys Report. I am Tom Downey, and looking at some replacement options because you have lost 2 players, at least for a few weeks, to injury. Micah Parsons has a high ankle sprain. He's going to miss some time. Maybe he's back after the bye week. DeMarcus Lawrence, meanwhile, is going to miss, quote-unquote, multiple weeks with a mid-foot sprain. He's going to go see a specialist. I don't like ever seeing that word when it comes to injuries. TBD on when he's back. I'd probably say after the bye as well. So with that in mind, knowing you've already lost Sam Williams for the entire season, do the Cowboys need another pass rusher? 1 for yes, 0 for no. I had argued it might be 1 even before the injuries. He had a great game against the Browns. 6 sacks, a stupid amount of pressures because they got backup tackles. Deshaun Watson does not feel pressure very well either. Since then, 1 sack, 6 pressures, 0 sacks, 5 pressures, 1 sack, 12 pressures. That's all you've done. You got most of your pressures late in that game. Or the Giants were throwing it a bit more frequently, but they weren't necessarily high quality pressures either that were forcing all kinds of deaths. Now they forced some missed chances that DJ had to roll right because he does not ever roll left for whatever reason. But your pass rushing group was kind of a disappointment for me in that game, given your success previously. Now you're down Micah Parsons. Now you're down Tank Lawrence. Your internal options right now are Marshawn Kneeland, second-round pick, who we'll talk about here in a second. Chauncey Golston, who I think is a better run setter than he is a pass rusher. Tyrus Wheat, who was a scratch. And also practice squatter Carl Lawson with no other option at defensive end, really, on your practice squad. Now, Kneeland has been kind of a weird player. He was awesome against the Browns. He had 6 pressures in that game. He's had 1 pressure since. Now, I thought he played pretty well against the Giants, had the tackle for loss in that game, a great special teams play, but he's got a 9% pressure rate. He was always a developmental pass rushing option, decent run stopper. Now, I don't know where you're going to get that from. He's going to start. I would have decent chance you get Chauncey Golston out there as a run stopper. I think he's a better edge setter at defensive end than he is at defensive tackle. 8 tackles, sack, 1 TFL. Of note, by the way, on the Neyland, it was a TFL, not a sack of Daniel Jones. It was a read option play. So that was a tackle for loss of Jones, not a sack. Golston had a sack earlier this year. Carl Lawson's had a couple pressures. He and Chauncey Golston both at 13.6 rounding upward %. So he's had some pressures. Took Dante Fowler, rolled too literally, and jumped off sides on a play. I thought he was better last week than he was previously. He's got 1 more free practice squad call-up left. Then you got to make a decision on him on the active roster. So you might have to put someone on IR, make a spot, or cut somebody. That's not a great group. And Tyra Sweet is a special teamer, basically, who has not done much of anything as a pass rusher. It's not a great spot to be. So predictions. We asked you should. Now we're going to ask you will. Will the Cowboys add another pass rusher? I've got some ideas, free agency, trades, cut or practice squad, etc. Will they add one? Y for yes, N for no at the pin comment of today's video, especially if the ad comes on YouTube. Take advantage of it. Head down there and let me know. We'll go quick on some of the free agent options because they fall into very similar buckets. Rasheem Green probably fits more of like the Golston mold where he can like do some run stopping stuff for you, but isn't an elite pass rusher. But he is one of the better names out there. Frank Clark joins the next 4 names on this list. He is an older pass rusher who was once good and maybe doesn't have the juice left anymore. Shaq Lawson hasn't really done much of anything the past couple years. He might be closer to retirement than anything else. Justin Houston, and we'll also merge him with Melvin Ingram here as part of the same conversation because they both signed with the Dolphins late last season. Didn't really do all that much. All these guys are old. This is what happens when you're in late September free agency. It's not a good group. Myjai Sanders already got cut by Houston. He just might be cooked as an NFL player, but he's kind of a skinnier pass rusher that maybe you could have some success with. If you were to sign any of these guys, by the way, you would almost assuredly put them on the practice squad before anything else. But it's just not a good free agency crop. Now, we're going to have to really speak some good stuff into existence for this Cowboys defense. It worked last week. I said we'll do, or I guess this past week. We'll do the turnover chain. Maybe you get a turnover. You got one. You can get yours as well. Chatsports.com/Cowboys chain. Link will be in the comments section and the description of today's show. That's chatsports.com/Cowboys chain. A clickable link, by the way, in that far corner opposite me as well. Got to have this name on here, don't we? Randy Gregory, who you know very well. He was a longtime part of your organization. He signed with the Tampa Bay Buccaneers in free agency after playing for Denver and San Francisco last season, and then never showed up. Just never got there. The Bucs seemingly never really figured out what was going on. I don't know if he was struggling with stuff. That makes me worried given his past history. I am of this mindset. I don't know if either side wants to have this happen. Now, Randy took shots at the Cowboys ownership and fans. Ownership took shots at Randy Gregory. I think that to an extent, and maybe this is too mean, but this is getting back together with your ex-girlfriend. And you are not in a position where you should be going back to the crazy ex. And that's kind of mean, but I do think that's kind of where you're at. I would pass on the Randy Gregory reunion. But this is America, America's team, and I believe in democracy. So would you give Randy Gregory another chance? S for sign, P for pass. Let me know in the comments of today's show. Some practice squad options. Now, you can sign these guys off a practice squad. They have to stay on your roster for several weeks, though, before you could potentially move on. Yannick Ngakoue is first up on here since he recently signed with the Ravens practice squad. I am curious how much he has left in the tank. You've seen the decline the last couple of years. The sacks per game have dipped a little bit. The sacks have dipped. The TFLs have gone down. I don't think he's much of a run stopper. As a situational pass rusher, I think that could certainly be some interest. Although he did just sign with Baltimore, and as a reminder, you have to convince these guys to sign with you. They can say no. KJ Henry, he's bounced around the league, was in Washington, got claimed by the Bengals. Bengals cut him, put him on the practice squad. It's a draft pick out of Clemson. It's a notable name. Not many great options. Your almost Cowboys legend, Kayvon Chasen, who has just never materialized to what he was supposed to be in Jacksonville. I think he went to a bad spot that didn't develop him properly. The Cowboys regime was high on him coming out of LSU. Thank God CeeDee Lamb fell to you, or else you'd never be able to take another LSU edge in your entire life, or any LSU defender you wouldn't be able to take. 2 Vikings players on their practice squad, Bo Richter and Andre Carter. That's Air Force product and Army product, right? Yeah. Army for the Vikings. Weird size guys to an extent, but they've had NFL chances to an extent. Then there's Tyus Bowser, who you brought in for a workout. Seattle ended up signing him, but their pass rush has done pretty well. So maybe he would take a chance to get more playing time somewhere else. Now, I want you guys to name a defensive end you want to add. The trade options, who I suspect will be more intriguing to you guys. That's coming up next here. So let me know a defensive end who you want to add. I fully expect to see a lot of Hassan Reddick answers on here. And I don't disagree. In terms of the potentially realistic available names, this one stands out to me. There's 2 big issues here. Reddick has raised a stink about not getting paid. And if he's sticking on that, Dallas ain't going to pay him. Doesn't make sense. They also maybe don't want to pay his current base salary. He's still owed a pretty decent amount of money this year, although he's missing out on nearly $1 million in game checks along the way. If he is willing, and I have questions if he is willing, but if he is willing just to take his, I'll do $1 million rest of the way per game is basically what he's owed. It's a little bit less than that. He requested a trade. Does he want to get paid? Or does he just want out of New York? And are the Jets going to admit that they screwed? Because they would be giving up a 3rd-round pick in the future and getting, a 5th-round pick back? If I could get him, I am all for it. I think those are 2 massive question marks. Would he play without an extension? And would the Jets actually trade him, given the fact that your front office and the Jets have had some issues previously? A cheaper option, but one that is a Cowboys legend, is Isaiah Land. Land has not played very much this year for Indy. They've invested in other pieces there. Got a tackle for loss in just 14 snaps for Indy this year. That was one that a lot of Cowboys fans didn't want to let him leave, and they cut him, and he got claimed by Indianapolis. But Land stands out as a potential cheap option if you could get him from Indy. Some more veteran pieces. I'm focusing more on the pass rush side here early. That's Josh Uche. He is not a run stopper. Don't put him out there to set your edge. It's not going to go well. But he can do some linebacker stuff for you, too, in the same way that Micah kind of was moonlighting a little bit there. Has battled injuries a little bit over the course of his career, was awesome in 2022, limited in 2023, went back to New England. Keon White has emerged for them as their number 1 pass rusher. Patriots are not a good football team. Buying Uche could be a seller. Could be from a seller, could be a decent buying move that hopefully won't cost you all that much. A disappointment option in New Orleans, Isaiah Foskey, the Notre Dame pass rusher. He just hasn't done much. He's been a bust, more or less, as a day 2 pick. He's stuck behind other pieces. If the Saints are open to moving on from a backup edge, they may or may not be. Foskey could be a decent name. Now, when the Cowboys make a move, we will have you covered with a video. So if you haven't already, hit that sub button. YouTube.com/CowboysTV. That's at YouTube.com/CowboysTV. I don't know if Denver would do it because it'd be a rental and he's probably going to leave in free agency. Jonathan Cooper has been a nice player for the Broncos. He's not as good as Hassan Reddick, make no mistake about it. But I think that is a under-the-radar name who could help you out. You could go call the Panthers about Jadeveon Clowney if you wanted to. Now, Clowney's got some attitude stuff that has caused issues with me in the past, but he can do run stopping. He's actually maybe even a better run stopper than he's passer sometimes. He was great last year for Baltimore. Is he on his every other year I'm good stint? I don't know. He went back home to Carolina, but Carolina's kind of bad. Not that expensive. With what you need right now, I think Clowney is actually a decent fit if you trust the person, because he burnt a bridge on his way out of Cleveland that a lot of the NFL did not like. Another sub-package option, D'Angelo Malone of the Falcons. He's not playing really at all after being a third-round pick. If you just want someone with some juice for DPR situations on third and longs, Malone stands out. Dominique Robinson has not developed the way I hoped he was going to out of Miami of Ohio for the Chicago Bears. He's buried in on that depth chart right now. But again, it is September. You're now down your top three edges for Williams for the year, Micah Parsons for a few weeks. Tank Lawrence is, I would bet he ends up going on IR. That would not be a surprise. But the Cowboys did not get good injury news, and now they're kind of scrambling to figure stuff out. It is mailbag time here on the show. We'll get to Pug Racer and Well, Why Not, and CJ DeYoung's Super Chats as part of this upcoming mailbag here. Let me write one note here. Make sure you see that in the script for me there, Stone. Use hashtag Cowboys or Super Chat to get on the show. Let me hold up, get some water. Hashtag Cowboys or Super Chat if you want to skip the line and get on the show. Otherwise, if you don't use the hashtag Cowboys, Producer Stone just simply cannot find your question. There's just too many of them. This is the Super Chat menu. As a reminder, $20 for a shot, $50 for a beer bong. $100, the bong, slap, and shot trio. $500, a custom Cowboys jersey. The most hundreds in September. Right now, it is a runaway from Anthony McMillan with 2 live shows left. Gets the full-size Cowboys helmet. It's a mailbag here on the Cowboys Report. I am Tom Downey. That is Producer Stone behind the scenes, by the way. He's picking the questions, but first we start with super thanks from CJ DeYoung III. Nothing's getting fixed this year. We're just going with what we got. I wouldn't expect any real changes in the offseason. And he had this one. Both these came in before the Giants game, but there was no show in between. No, there's an extra one. Didn't have one, so we're putting him on this one here. You know, I'm a longtime Cowboys fan. Hope we get spanked this week. Maybe the joke that ownership will wake the F up. Thanks. They felt really confident. Again, ownership did come out of the game, which is stupid because they shouldn't be, but I didn't want to lose that game. Even now, I know you got injuries. You're 2-2. You got 2 games before the bye. You won't be out of it before the bye week, and in theory, you get some healthy pieces back. I don't want to quit right now. I don't want to bail yet. We can check in again in a few weeks closer to the NFL trade deadline. And you can get on the show via Super Chat or via Super Thanks. It is a feature on YouTube. You can donate outside of live video. Simply click your thanks icon, edit your message, send in whatever it is. Any Super Thanks equals a shout-out because we appreciate your support here on the Cowboys Report. So get those in. Some more Super Thanks here. Zach Crosby next up. I know it's bad for pass defense, but can't they try a 4-6 defense on rundowns? They get shredded in base 4-3. I feel like they're talented enough in the secondary to not get totally cooked. To me, a 5th or 6th big boy would at least stop the run more than they are now. This also came in before the Giants game. They stopped the run. They've actually been terrible with loaded boxes. They've done a really bad job of that. They also, and this is also the thing I've had concerns about, they have not been a great pass coverage team for about half a year now, dating back to last season. They have not been very good. They've got issues across the board. Maybe once Bland gets healthy, you're talented enough in the secondary, but they were getting cooked by Malik Neighbors and Wan'Dale Robinson all game long. Mostly short stuff, but still. Marcus Arnold, thanks. Taking a couple days to think about this, and I've come to the conclusion. The Cowboys are the exact same place they were last season. The difference is the offense isn't scoring 40 points a game to bail the defense out. Why? Because Jerry didn't change anything that mattered in March. I agree. I completely agree. I don't like what the offseason was. You're paying the price for your lack of offseason moves. You lost Dante Fowler, you lost Dorrance Armstrong, and you replaced them with just Marshawn Nealon. You lost multiple defensive linemen, and you replaced them with guys you signed in August. Linval Joseph, who was better, but still not very good by his standards, I think, last week in week 4. And a guy that already is on IR in Jordan Phillips. Like, you're paying the price for your lack of offseason moves right now. Especially when you lose guys to injuries too, you were already thin. Now you're super thin. From the wrong one. Why is it that we are so committed to running the ball up the middle, not bouncing guys outside, especially Deuce Vaughn? It's obvious we can't block well enough to run up the middle, nor do we have the talent. I agree. I don't understand what the Cowboys' planning is. Like, especially Deuce Vaughn. Like, why are you just putting him up the middle over and over again? If you're just going to do that, don't even bother playing him. Activate somebody else instead. There's no purpose with that. It's just silliness. They ran some nice outside zone plays. Hope more of that continues. From Ryan, is Cook going to play? Now, this came in before the Week 4 game. I think in this particular case, we'll focus on the Week 5 angle, which I think is still valid. I don't know if he's going to play. Maybe the running game had enough signs of life. They run with it for one more week. You're also juggling, okay, you're going to have to call up Carl Lawson. Is Kalen Carson back? Do you know Oruwariye up again? Do you have to release somebody, IR somebody? You got some weird roster gymnastics to do that you might not be able to do with Dalvin Cook. So I don't know what's going to happen with Cook, but I think you should consider it. Should Dalvin Cook play in Week 5? Y for yes, N for no. Let me know in the comments section of today's show. Some super thanks to get to here from Pug Racer. Defense is kind of cooked without 11 and D-Law. Too bad Jerry will say something about how he likes the backups and he measured them himself. It's a good joke. You saw the clip. Yeah, you saw the clip. Good job, Stone. Yeah, they're going to like their guys. I am fine if he says it publicly as long as they try to do stuff behind the scenes. You don't have to admit it, but you need to go look for help there. From why not? I think the loss of DeMarcus is worse than the loss of Micah. The defense should improve since then it's just a bunch of Jags who will be more willing to play with the system and trust Zimmer. That's my concern, actually, is that the opposite happens. Because that's what they have to do. But, Micah was playing within the system. Micah bought in to do your job, and everything will work out behind you. That's why he was so frustrated after Week 3 and made some public comments. Because he kind of got it now. I think a light bulb came on for him. Tank had kind of been like, making comments. We weren't locked in, whatever. And in years past, Micah was going rogue a little bit, which is fine when you make plays. You can't go rogue and not make the play. That's when you get into issues there. Micah and Tank can play hero ball. Other guys can't. But Micah was the one buying in, doing his job against Lamar Jackson. The linebackers were not. The safeties were not. So I am worried that it's just going to put more pressure and they don't handle the pressure well. Maybe we can get some Ewing theory with those two guys out for at least a little bit. Today's show is made possible by Prize Picks. They are America's #1 daily fantasy sports app, over 5 million active members. It is the easiest and most exciting way to play daily fantasy sports. Unlike other apps, it's you against the numbers. You pick more, pick less, 2 to 6 player stat projections. Watch those winnings roll in. Marshall Green, who is still down bad after his Giants lost again to the Cowboys, sent me his Prize Pick. Slade's got the Caleb Williams half passing yard, Derrick Henry 1 touchdown, and Aaron Jones more than rushing yards in a revenge game for Aaron Jones. So download the Prize Picks app today. Use code CLNS and get $50 instantly when you play 5. That's code CLNS over on Prize Picks to get $50 instantly when you play 5. You don't even need to win to get the $50 bonus. It is guaranteed. Links in the comments and the description of today's show. Carlos, if the Cowboys make a trade because of the Cowboys' injuries, who do you think they would target? Do you think they will? I doubt it would be Hassan Reddick. I would love that. I'd be a very happy camper if they went out and got him. Expectations are low there. Just given this team's history of what they do and don't do. I think that they could certainly look around for stuff there. But expectations is like you're going to get like a 4th edge rusher. It's also September. Like, there aren't that many great players available in the market. Robert, I feel a little better if we beat the Eagles both times, even if we have a bad season this year. Yeah, you would feel better about that. For sure. I would also, if you beat the Eagles twice, you probably don't have a bad season. That kind of goes a long way for you. So, from Chark4288, Tom, who will be the Cowboys head coach next year? Who do you want as our head coach next year? My first ask out of this Cowboys team, if when they move on from Mike McCarthy, is do a real coaching search. If you get up there and you meet with 5 coaches and you fulfill the bare minimum of your requirements and you don't really do much else, I don't really know what you're doing at that point. I think that's kind of stupid. So I hope that you do a real head coaching search. Top of my list is Ben Johnson. He does great motion stuff. He is not from the Shanahan tree, but has very similar designs. I think he does a great job. He knows how to maximize his players. He's turned down head coaching jobs back-to-back years. I would love Ben Johnson. Do I get him? I don't know. I would not rule out some of the bigger names, the Belichicks, etc. If the defense figures stuff out, I also wouldn't rule out Mike Zimmer, which I would hate. But in the past, Jerry has said he don't have to have a new head coach for learning on the job. Your retread options are better than most years, Belichick, Vrabel, etc., but still some question marks. Cameron, would the Giants trade us Dexter Lawrence? I don't think so. He's awesome. The Giants also traded for Brian Burns, knowing that Daniel Jones is bad. So I don't think they're going to be a seller of that level. You get somebody cheaper, maybe. Maybe the trade is Azeez Ojulari, but not Dexter Lawrence. Prediction time. Will the Cowboys make a trade? 1 for yes, 0 for no. Let me know in the comments section of today's video. TKG, after last night's win, why don't I feel good about the win? Also, how many flags in total yesterday from both teams? The final stat line of accepted penalties only, there were like 4 or maybe 6 that were offsetting or declined, something like that. 11 for the Cowboys, 4 for the Giants. They were bad, and the refs were bad. They totally whiffed on a face mask on Overshown. Should have been called for it. He wasn't. They totally whiffed that one. And then they were pretty terrible throughout the course of the game, too. The reason why you don't feel as good is because you're still not sold on this team. And I don't blame you at all for that. They're 2-2. They got by. The sky is not falling yet, but it's cloudy. And you have reasons to be concerned. Now, if you want to be a part of future Cowboys mailbags, it's very simple. Hit the sub button. We're live on, in most cases, we're doing this on Friday, obviously, because it was a post-game show, or we had the Thursday game. Live on Mondays, live on Thursdays. So if you haven't already, hit that sub button. YouTube.com/@CowboysTV. CJ DeYoung, in this case, asking about Hassan Reddick as a trade. I would call for sure. I don't know if any party involved is willing to do what it takes to make it happen. The Jets probably have a high asking price, so they don't want to admit that they screwed up. They don't want to trade a future third for a 5th this year. You know, that's a bad trade for you. You're going to regret that because it's just costing you assets there. I don't know if Reddick's going to play on a 1-year deal. That's the issue in New York, right? Maybe he'll do it somewhere else. Matthew Judon basically did with the Patriots and the Falcons. And would Dallas give up the money involved to pay him and trade for him? I don't know. But you call. If you're not doing your job if you don't call. So name a player, with that in mind, who you want to go out and trade for. Any position group, any player, any whatever. What player, if you ran the Dallas Cowboys organization, would you like to go out and acquire via a trade? Try to keep it realistic. It's not always the case, but let me know in the comments of today's show. This is actually a super chat from Ecuador Man. He says, how is beating a bad team badly impressive? I wouldn't call it impressive last night. I would call this a you survived game. It was a short week on the road, not the greatest weather conditions. You have not played very well. You found a way to survive, and that's a big deal in the end. It was not pretty. It was a classic ugly Thursday night game. It was not about impressing. The style points are never going to be a thing on Thursday Night Football. You can't beat the allegations that you're just not beating a bad team anyway. You got the win. That's what matters. So will the Cowboys make the playoffs? Y for yes, N for no. Let's say goodbye to the hater. Bye, buddy. I can now time people out for a day. That's great. Instead it used to be like just like a minute was all I had. Nice not to do that anymore there. Will they make the playoffs? You're not a lock. Your schedule does not look very easy, by the way. Now, it gets easier once you get through the meat of it. You end the year with Giants, Bengals, Panthers, or Commanders, Giants, Bengals, Panthers, Bucks, Eagles, Commanders. You can go on a little run there. But you got a gauntlet coming up here against real playoff threats. Pittsburgh, Detroit, San Francisco, Atlanta, Philadelphia, Houston. It's tough. Shark4288, I agree with you, Tom. Ben Johnson is my top choice and would love him, but I think they go with Bill Belichick. I am fine with Bill Belichick as long as he's not just getting the gang back together. It's all I don't want that. I don't want to hire Matt Patricia and bring in Josh McDaniels. Like I don't really want that. Now, if I can trick him into hiring a Shanahan-based offensive coach and saying you run the offense and Bill is the head coach, and you hire a young mind and he gets the promise of you can be the head coach down the line. I'm intrigued by that. But I don't want to just hire Bill Belichick and then Josh McDaniels is the OC. That's not fun. I get Josh is not a bad OC, but I just don't want to go down that path anymore. I've seen that race. I'm over it. It's not fun. I don't want to do it. He's tanked too many teams as head coach. Don't trust it. CJ DeYoung III, even if they do, they're one and done. I think most of us would agree. If we're being honest, I don't think there's much confidence. Which, how could there be? I don't think any of us is confident in this team. What they did by beating the Giants was holding off the sky's falling stuff. It's a big deal. Today's Super Chat menu is this. $20 for a shot, $50 for a beer bong, $100 the bong, slap, and shot trio, $500 a custom Cowboys jersey, most hundreds in September. The Cowboys full-sized helmet. It is an Anthony McMillan runaway at this point. Get to our final segment. I got some complaints about this. Some complaints here. That we'll get to as part of this changes to make stuff. But that is your Super Chat menu for today's show. All right, this is your live show schedule for the week here on the Cowboys Report. Monday, 3:50 p.m. Eastern Time. Same as Thursday, back to our normal schedule. Sunday Night Football this week against the Pittsburgh Steelers at 6:45 p.m. Eastern is when we'll start our live coverage. We'll go live a little bit earlier so the Steelers channel doesn't screw us like the Giants channel did. So make sure you guys are subscribed and tune into our live programming this week here on the Cowboys Report. Now, you are 2-2. You got a big win, if as ugly as it was against the Giants, but you have to make changes. In many ways, this win over the Giants reminds me of last year's win over the Chargers. It wasn't pretty. You got the win. You gutted it out. Now you have to make some adjustments and build a better football team and install your real offense in the mini-bye week again, which is crazy how that's happened seemingly 2 straight years. You got to make changes and adjustments. Coaching staff, too. Players as well. Look at what some of your key players said after this win. Dak Prescott, who is kind of unusually called out his teammates 2 times in a row, which he doesn't normally do. We got to continue to be pros. That's not done when you get a win. We're not going to get overexcited. Hopefully the guys don't listen to anything being written now, good or bad. It's about focusing on the process. We were able to get a win tonight, puts at 2-2. It's a process. We're not going to get complacent. We're not going to get overexcited about what we've done tonight. It's about building and figuring out what we can do better in all phases. But it's a lot easier to do that after a win. Micah Parsons had a similar refrain despite battling his own ankle injury. Winning is important, but it wasn't perfect. I don't want to scrape by no more. I want legit wins. I want to win consistently. And we got a tough matchup next week against Pittsburgh. Your players have to keep improving. Some of your guys have. I've seen some better stuff out of guys like Terrence Steele. The coaching staff, though, has to keep helping. And one of my big takeaways across the board, especially on offense these past few weeks, I don't think your coaching staff has done a very good job of getting their players, their playmakers, into the best positions to succeed. So I have some changes to make. They're a little bit more bigger picture stuff, which isn't the same level of solution other than just like run the good plays that I know they've done before. I have some changes for this Cowboys team to make in this kind of mini bye period. So going into this it's not quite 10 days anymore, but the mini bye, the full week you have, what is your confidence level in the Cowboys right now? Scale it for me from 1 to 10. 1 on the low end, 10 on the high end. Let me know what your confidence level is in the Cowboys. First up, please bring back the good passing offense. It is 2024. Stop running a stupid, outdated West Coast offense. It's not a good offense, and I hate it. Now, the Cowboys did make one of the exceedingly obvious adjustments to make this past week. They got CeeDee Lamb going. Why it took them so long, I truly will never fully know. But he had 8 targets, which I feel like they were missing one, or they called it a throwaway. Pro Football referenced that first one. I think they probably called it a throwaway, which is it's fine. It pretty much was what it is. What was there? 7 catches, 98 yards, 14 on average, 1 touchdown. In the second half of the football game, he was targeted twice for 1 catch and 4 yards. Why? They did that in the Dolphins game last year too. Why do you go away from your best player? Can you not adjust when they adjust against you? Please feed him all game long. Throw him the damn ball. The Cowboys' passing scheme right now is terrible. You basically only use Brandon Cooks on hitch routes. He's fast. Do mesh. Do drags. Do mesh rail. Do stuff that normal NFL teams do. And not just try to survive on 7-yard passes every play. The scheme is terrible. You have to let Dak deal, help him deal, and push the ball downfield. You really do. Look, everything about this offense is still really hard. You had the one play from Dak when he found Lipke on that incredible play. He gets through 1.5 reads. Pressure's there. He bails on the pressure, avoids the pocket, flicks off a guy, throws a dart Lipke for 11 yards. So challenging. And it feels like there's nobody open. It's because there is when they're throwing it. Here are the numbers. The tight window throw percentage from worst to best. Week 3, it was a 35.3% tight window throw rate. Horrible. 25%. That's the 6th highest rate. Number 1 highest rate. 12th highest rate. 13th highest rate. There's 70 qualifying quarterbacks so far this year. Individual performances. Dak has 4 of the top 13 tight window throws. That's not good. That's bad. It's higher than what it normally is. Your scheme sucks. Look, he's missed some throws too. Don't get me wrong. He's been a bit late. That increases that stat. But this is it feels like there's nobody open because there isn't. The motion game is also non-existent. You ran it 42 times in week 1, then 34, then 25. Maybe that was some game script stuff, sure. It was 27 against the Giants. We shall see where that ends up ranking. But the stuff that other teams like to do, that they try to make life easier on their offense, your head coach refuses to do. It's motion, it's hitch routes. And look, if Dak is comfortable with that stuff, I don't care. Do the stuff that's better. Push him a little bit more, if that's the case. I don't know if it actually is, but I want to acknowledge it at least as a possibility. You can get the Cowboys turnover chain. We'll talk about the defense here in a little bit. Don't you worry. Get the turnover chain that I rock if and when the Cowboys make some turnovers by going to chatsports.com/Cowboys chain. Link will be in the comments section and the description of today's show. That's chatsports.com/Cowboys chain. Next up, I would try some new players. And you don't have to play all of them, but you are kind of getting into the definition of insanity, right? Now, Marquise Bell was hurt. I thought Donovan Wilson was better this week. Still not great. I wouldn't mind trying him. If you're just going to have Brevin Spanford block, when you have Lipke who can do that, you want to try John Stevens Jr. instead? Or you just not trust on special teams? That might be a factor there. But he's a different body type of tight end than what you have. I would like to see more Kevontae Turpin chances. I also think Turpin's usage or lack thereof is indicative of the way you use Brandon Cooks, which is like he's in the Michael Gallup role, and that's just not what he does best. Put Tolbert in the Gallup role and let Cooks do other stuff that's not just comeback routes. That's all they do with him. It's so bad. Of course he's not doing contested catches. He's like 5'9". Stop throwing that route to him. Stop it. It's just bad usage. I kind of want to see Ryan Flournoy out there. You're worried about Jalen Brooks getting his 4 special team snaps? Flournoy gives me some juice. And finally, maybe it's Dalvin Cook time. Your running game was better. I also think, by the way, it's a little telling that Ezekiel Elliott has had his snap count drop every game this year. And even, by the way, in those, they kind of used him properly and brought him in to be a grind out the clock guy. They're giving just as many actually, they had Zeke out there for 0 pass blocking snaps against the New York Giants. They gave Deuce Vaughn a rep, and he was actually really good in that rep, by the way. They're putting Rico Dowdle and Lipke in there to pass protect. Not Ezekiel Elliott right now. He's out there for 2 pass plays. That was it. What's he out there then for? What am I paying for? To get in the ball. He kind of tried to run the clock a little bit. Had a good one on this callback for a hold too, but Dowdle's better. I think they're all better with outside runs, unless Dalvin Cook is cooked, which you're going to have to trust the coaching staff on that front, because if he never plays, probably just means he's bad. So, should Dalvin Cook play in Week 5? Y for yes, N for no. Let me know in the comments of today's video. Some more changes. Fix your flags. I feel like it is every single year, different players, we have this conversation. Now, the flags went away in Week 2 and Week 3. They let the boys play. They were playing catch up. They were a little bit nicer, I guess, there. But they had 11 flags in Week 1 and 11 flags in Week 4. Now, look, all of them were not flags. There were some bad calls mixed in there. They also totally missed one against DeMarvion Overshone that could have been called. But you've got some repeat offenders here. In total, you have 41 penalties. 9 of them have been declined. It's not good. Guyton has 7 penalties this year. 2 of them were offsetting or declined. 7. 4 games. We were mad about Connor Williams. Guyton's your new penalty boy. Now, Tyler Smith has kind of cut them down a little bit this year. That's a good sign. I feel like he's getting a bit more respect from the officials. Guyton's not now. Jalen Tolbert's got some stupid penalties. Spanford does too. Lamb had a stupid taunting penalty. I'm not too worried about that one there. But you can't have penalties kill drives. This team is not good enough to overcome consistently 1st and 20, 2nd and 20. They're not good enough. The penalties are killing you. They almost cost you that game against the Giants. That would have been the reason, because your offense moved the ball great until you got into 1st and 20. And then you were in a bad spot, like most teams are. They almost killed you. So it's time to bully the Cowboys into committing fewer penalties. Type flags for me in the comments section of today's show. Number 5, just learn to tackle. You are professional athletes. Hit somebody and hold on. Your missed tackles have gone the wrong way. 9 in Week 1, 6 in Week 2. These are all for PFF, by the way. 15 in Week 3, and 14 last week. Now, a lot of these are some of your defensive linemen, and I am less worried about when your interior linemen, your edge rushers give up missed tackles, because oftentimes those are not like high-quality tackle attempts. When you got 5 missed tackles from a safety and 5 missed tackles from a linebacker and 5 more from a corner and 3 from your other corners each and 4 from another linebacker, and that doesn't include like Donovan Wilson just not being in the right spot at the right time, like that's too many. You can't miss open field tackles. That is how you end up turning a 4-yard gain into a 12-yard gain and they get a first down. You got to miss fewer tackles. You're going to be down Tank Lawrence. You're going to be down Micah Parsons. Those are 2 of your best players on defense. Time to have people step up. So who needs to step up most on the defense? Right? There's a lot of names you can go with here. Drop one for me in the comments of today's show. Finally, Mike McCarthy, you are an NFL vet of how many years? How do you still suck at end of half and end of game scenarios? I genuinely don't understand this. How does it keep happening? You had it multiple times again. You had it in the first half where the Giants were in 2nd and long. They picked up a few yards. You didn't call timeout. You didn't do it. You allowed the clock to run all the way down. You get an offsides. You have to burn a timeout there to stop a runoff there. Why you didn't call timeout there, I don't know. Bad clock management. Late in the game, you just loaded the hell out of the box. You are not a power run team. Spread them out a little bit. All you're doing is adding more guys in the area where you're trying to go. Spread them out a little bit. Put one receiver out there. And late in the game was a near disaster class, and still kind of was out of Mike McCarthy. You are in maximize the clock ticking time frame. You didn't use any of your timeouts. What you should have done, if you are going for a 51-yard try, which I just didn't like, punt the ball and then get them backed up in their own 20 and just bleed that clock off. They can go 80 yards in 20 seconds. You didn't do that. And you also took 3 timeouts in the half in the end of the game for no reason. Instead of simply, when you snap that ball, there's 1:16 left, take down the 40 seconds. Call your timeout. Then send your kicker out there. Instead, you made him rush. Go back and watch. They weren't ready. Aubrey was rushing. You can go look at the 8 seconds on the play clock in each of those moments. Aubrey was set and ready, doing his breathing stuff. The last one, everyone's still getting set up. You rushed a 51-yard try for 0 reason because you suck at this stuff. Mike McCarthy is terrible at the end of games. We would make jokes how Madden Mike and our offseason Sims was bad at it. He's terrible in real life. And look, most coaches are. But Jesus, dude, come on. Figure it out. This isn't that hard. Do we have to hire a guy who plays Madden to do it for you? Come on. Be better. As a bonus, please get Deron Bland back. Andrew Booth was bad. Was Deshaun Wright bad. Amani Oruwariye, wasn't as bad, but also you're down to defense. You're down to your 6th cornerback option. It's not exactly great. It was not a great spot necessarily. CJ DeYoung's got a $50 super chat, so I need a beer bong and the shots for Caesar as well. And we'll get to those other super chats here. Last one was Ecuador Man is one we have to go to. This $2 one. So CJ DeYoung, a 50 piece. I'm drinking a beer, and you should too. To be clear, I'm not trolling. I'm just so tired of the Cowboys franchise. It's been 30 years. I'm tired of hearing 12-5. It's championships, not regular season records. Thanks for the rant. I get that. I think most of us agree. The disagreement's come in how you get beyond just winning 12 games and having that championship success. I think that's what we all want in the end. So I agree. It is highly frustrating to see the same stuff play out, which I think deep down we kind of all know. Can I get the blue one? Thank you. I think we all kind of know is what we're barreling towards here. So the blue bong. Yeah. So Caesar, I see your 20. I'll do your shot here while Stone gets the beer bong for me. Oh, no, just the blue bong. Beer bong coming up for CJ, I should say. That is not closed off. That's how we get a spillage. There we go. Oh, that's so foamy. I made a huge mistake. Oh, boy. All right, F it. Let's do it. There we go. And a shot. Why did I do the shot second? I kind of don't want to end on the shot. Can you get me another beer? I just don't want to end on the shot. I don't care. Caesar, how's the hangover, Tom? Happy Friday. Game was too close for comfort, but a win is a win. I feel fine. It's like a 6-hour live show we do, and then I take the Z-Biotic stuff and I'm fine. It's really not that bad. I've definitely been worse. Like, let me do the shot first here. That was also a very bad pour. I really don't know what I'm doing out here. Ecuador man, worst matchup: Watt versus Guyton or Fields versus the defensive line. You know, Fields is kind of a chaos merchant as a quarterback. He does some weird stuff. Let me pull up I don't know how much the Steelers actually move him around. Pulling up my numbers here for Watt. Not special teams. He doesn't play special teams. Now, Watt. So here's the thing. That's kind of what I thought about TJ Watt. They don't move him. He stays on the left side the entire time. So he's going to get Terrence Steele. It's not going to be Guyton. Unless they drastically change it. I'm looking at his numbers here. He has played 150 defensive snaps this year. 149 defensive snaps. All of them have come on the left side of the defense, which is over the right tackle. Last year, he played 910 defensive snaps. 8 of them came on the right side. Oh, sorry, it was actually 930 snaps, and 10 of them came on the right side. He doesn't move. They put him over the right tackle and leave him there. So you won't get Watt versus Guyton. Not where he lines up. I'm trying to find, is there even been a game in recent memory he did much of that? Spent every defensive snap on the left side in 2022. 2021. He had a game which he had 9 snaps on the right side of the line. They just stick him over there. He don't really move at all. So I guess it's Fields versus the D-line. Fields is a chaos guy. He'll make some guys miss. He'll also hold the ball forever. But you can force a fumble. You feel a lot better if you had Micah and Ting in this game. You'd feel a hell of a lot better. Protect the Sun 1. Mike McCarthy is a freaking bot. You have to do a recaptcha after every play. Yeah, it's pretty funny. I don't disagree. He's just bad at end of game. And look, a lot of coaches are, but he's so terrible. He always does something. Like, why are you rushing your kicker? Don't even send him out there. Say, hey, we're going to run the ball. We'll call a timeout, then go through your stuff. Give him all the time in the world, not rush him through it. I would love if someone asked him, why didn't you call a timeout there? They probably won't because they got other stuff like injuries to talk about, but it's a valid question. Last one from CJ to Young the third. I already made that suggestion, the coach's aide. Can you hire an intern to do it for you? I mean, Jesus. Anyone who plays Madden knows how to do clock management. And also fourth down stuff, too. The answer is almost always to go for it. It's frustrating. All right, we will sign off here. I'll do a beer bong to wrap things up as well. I don't know. I guess I could have just dealt with the taste of the shot in my mouth, but it's fine. If you haven't already, again, make sure you guys are subscribed. We will be live again on Monday. So a normal schedule. Monday again, Thursday again, Sunday night football as the Cowboys take on the Steelers. Hit that sub button as I do this bong. Let's ride. Well, Anthony's got 100. All right. We'll do some more beer bongs if you insist, Anthony. I like how Ecuador man always puts in belch. These are very carbonated beverages, okay? They're highly carbonated. Spam AM in the comments. Anthony McMillan coming in at the buzzer for a $100 super chat, extending his lead in the most hundreds in September race. I know you watch Everyday Ecuador, man. It's very accurate. It's not, again, I've always felt this way when it comes to me drinking. Oh my God, I got another 50. All right, I need more beers. Good Lord. Let's get to Anthony's super chat here. No message, just the 100 piece from Anthony. Woo! I'll tell you what. I'm glad I'm off tomorrow now. Now I'm going to feel it. Unexpected 5 beers or whatever the hell the math is there. Anthony. Need another one. That was a belch. Woo! That's not the alcohol for me. It's the carbonation. That's what gets me. There's just a lot of it, you know? No, it's fine. It's fine to be different. Good point made that's actually a slap and a shot for the 100. So we need, I have the alcohol to do a shot. Tortillas are in the fridge. Thank you for reminding me there, Joseph and Caesar, because I absolutely was going to forget. 100% I was about to forget. I appreciate you guys calling me out and keeping me honest there. Ecuador man wants me to slap Mitch. Mitch ain't in today. It's Friday. Me and Marshall are the only hosts on the day. Woo! Ugh. All right. Slap time. What are you laughing about?
Ready?
Yeah, maybe. You're on screen. That was a good one. That was a good one. Good twist of the wrist there. That was good. That was good. See a little bit of redness. Yeah, the tortillas are slightly stale. And by slightly, I mean very, which just means that they're firmer. So that was a good one. Yeah, the wider tortillas with more surface area and firmness because they're stale hurts a little bit. Not gonna lie. Can't really tell, but I can feel it. All right, last one. Thanks, Anthony. Thanks, CJ DeYoung III. She just said, I'm having a beer. You should have one too. Yeah, well, now we're having like 4, 5. I don't know where we're at math-wise. Let's do one more and sign off. Bottoms up, folks. I shouldn't have done the freebie. That was the mistake. All right, we'll sign off. We'll see you guys on Monday. Enjoy your rare, stress-free Saturday, or Sunday, for most of us at least. Cowboys 2-2, but injuries galore. We'll see you guys on Monday.